Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Vitaly Kirchin, top gun rights lawyer in Washington State. Today's video is about the recent US Supreme Court decision about bump stocks. I'm going to explain what the issue was, how the Supreme Court ruled, what the ruling means, and even more importantly, what the ruling does not mean. Stay tuned. To begin, a little background about what bump stocks are and how we got here. A bump stock is a type of firearm accessory that allows a semi-automatic firearm, typically a rifle, to mimic automatic fire. Essentially, bump stocks assist rapid fire by bumping the trigger against the trigger finger, thus allowing the firearm's recoil plus constant forward pressure by the non-shooting arm to actuate the trigger. The effect is that the trigger finger stays still and the stock slides back on recoil and then forward, pushing the trigger against the finger and firing again. A bump stock does not make any mechanical changes to the firing operation. Historically, ATF has always taken the position that bump stocks were legal accessories. However, that changed after October 2017 mass shooting in Las Vegas and the February 2018 school shooting in Parkland, Florida. In response to those shootings, in December 2018, ATF finalized a rule classifying bump stocks as machine guns. Now, to understand the issue fully, I also have to touch on the regulation of machine guns. I will be brief because the regulation of machine guns is otherwise a complicated topic. Basically, with certain exceptions that require a lot of government oversight and paperwork, ownership and possession of machine guns by civilians is unlawful under federal law. Congress has defined a machine gun as any weapon which shoots more than one shot with a single function of the trigger. Put another way, if you can fire multiple rounds with a single trigger pull, you've got a machine gun. Furthermore, federal law defines a machine gun to include the frame, receiver, or any part designed for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun. ATF used its rulemaking authority to classify a bump stock as a machine gun because, according to ATF, a bump stock is a part designed in converting a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic one by allowing the firearm to mimic automatic fire, and it does not matter whether the trigger is pulled once or multiple times because the effect is the same. ATF ordered owners of bump stocks to destroy them or surrender them to ATF to avoid criminal prosecution. That is where the courts come in. An individual surrendered his bump stocks to ATF under protest and then filed a challenge to ATF's regulations. The challenge ended up in the US Supreme Court, which just issued a ruling on June 14th. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that ATF's regulation of bump stocks is unlawful because it violates the Administrative Procedure Act, or APA. The APA grants federal agencies power to make rules and establish regulations. However, those rules and regulations cannot exceed the authority granted by Congress. The Supreme Court's reasoned that ATF's classification of bump stocks as machine guns did not fit Congress's definition of what constitutes a machine gun. Specifically, Congress's definition of a machine gun requires that the weapon fire multiple rounds with a single press of the trigger. However, bump stocks do not function that way. A bump stock assists with rapid firing, but each trigger pull only expels one bullet. Therefore, ATF's classification of bump stocks as a machine gun is contrary to Congress's definition of machine gun and is a violation of ATF's authority under the APA. So that is what this bump stock case is all about. However, it is equally important, if not more so, to understand what this case is not about. This case did not present any constitutional arguments about bump stocks. The Supreme Court did not rule that the Second Amendment protects ownership and possession of bump stocks. The case presents a technical argument about the interplay of powers between Congress and ATF. That is all. The Supreme Court's ruling is that ATF violated federal law, but not the US Constitution. What this means is that while the ATF rule prohibiting bump stocks has been struck down, any state law that prohibits bump stocks remains in effect. Washington State has had a ban on bump stocks since 2018, and that ban remains in effect. If you live in Washington State, the Supreme Court decision does not really do anything for you. If you live in a state that does not ban bump stocks, then you are allowed to resume your ownership and possession of bump stocks. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.